Andrea, we are going to talk about some Good Witch, and I have a question.
Hmm?
If we were to ask the listeners, do you think they would agree that you're a Cassie and I'm an Abigail?
I don't know about that.
Oh, so you think maybe you're an Abigail and I'm a
Well,
Cassie?
I interesting selection of characters.
They're
I'm just
the
gonna a little foreshadowing for you.
they're the
Just a little
two main
foreshadowing.
witches, so all right.
Well, you think, you
One of
think.
them, well, I guess there's a third witch with
Yeah.
Grace, but
Eric, this is a complex series.
it is.
I but complex but yet simple at the same time, which I think we'll break down in today's episode in case people have never watched this. Should they? I think that's what we can kind of guide people towards.
Well, on that note, I won't say this is Abigail. I'll say this is Eric,
This is Andrea.
and this is Hallmark Mysteries and
And
more.
more.
Ooh.
This podcast was created by fans for fans and is not affiliated with or sponsored by Hallmark or the Hallmark channel.
Okay, this is the Halloween edition. Now, are you going out trick-or-treating with the kids tonight, or do you stay home, or what was your Halloween routine for the
Yeah,
night?
since we're in Minnesota, I mean, like right now, as we're recording this, I'm wearing a tank top. It was 80 degrees today. That never happens this late. I know,
No
in
way. It was
Minnesota. Yeah.
hotter there than here. It's 75 for yesterday was 90, like 6, and today went down to drop 20 degrees.
Well, that's what we're about to do in 2 days. So on Halloween slash in 2 days, once this actually is airing, yeah, it's supposed to be like in the 40s. And so typically it's cooler, it's cold.
Wait, 40s for the high?
Sometimes, yeah, like 45. So
Ooh.
sometimes it's snowing. Um, so I usually stay home and I'll stay home with our 1-year-old and, until he goes to bed, and then I'll just pass out candy. And usually my husband takes around our 8-year-old and he goes around the neighborhood, trick or treats until he gets too cold.
And
So
what is his costume?
he is Spider-Man. He would have loved to have been Toad, but again, in Minnesota, the problem was it looked like he would have been Aladdin because it just had a vest and then a mushroom on the head and then like the Harlem pants. And I told him, I was like, Jalen, like we live in Minnesota. You have to wear a jacket. Like you can't wear a vest. A vest is just not great in Minnesota, period. So that's kind of where we ended up, is just reusing the Spider-Man costume because he couldn't agree on anything else besides Toad. And my little one is going to be a frog. So it would have been really cute, Toad and
Oh.
Frog, but it just didn't work.
Now, do you dress up when you pass out your candy?
I usually have I have like I should have worn it today. I have a little apron that's like a witch layout. So that's kind of fun.
Or wait,
It makes you look like you're a witch.
I'm trying to remember what in cases what the apron said. It was something like if if Mrs. isn't happy, then nobody's happy or something like that. I forget what the apron was classic.
Eric, we are okay. So as we're recording this, I'm a big Timberwolves fan. The Timberwolves are playing right now, and we just had their two best players end up getting hurt potentially right now. This is not great. I am kind of freaking out right now, Eric. I probably shouldn't have this game on. In case anyone's watching, we had Julius Randle just went down hard, and Ant, he slipped on the court and looked like he pulled something.
Okay, I have
I
a
gotta
question.
I gotta
I have
focus
a
back
question
in.
for you.
This is stressful right now, Eric.
What percentage of our listeners do you think really are
Understand anything I just
Timberwolf
said?
fans? 0.0001 Andrea, who listens to our own podcast, and then that's it. You're gonna start leaving us messages about. I loved when you talked about
Oh,
the Timberwolves.
Georgia's from Minnesota, at least.
All right, well
So maybe she'll know the names.
let's talk about the Hallmark movies that aired over the weekend.
Ooh, okay. So here were our choices. We
Dun
each
dun
had
dun
some
dun dun. Who
selections.
is right? Who is right? Oh, sorry.
Gosh, I knew this was going to happen. Okay, so here were our 4 movie selections. This time each year, which was the Allison Sweeney Nile Mater, Nutcracker Christmas, which again aired in July with Chris Russell and Ashley Newbrow, and that was my pick. And then Christmas Charade, which was Rachel Scarsden and Corey Sevier, which was your pick. And then the 5-year Christmas Party, which was Katie Finley and what was the guy's name? I'm doing this off the top of my head.
Some
Jordan
like
something.
Jordan Fisher.
Yeah, I think something like that. So you had picked the Christmas charade. I had picked Nutcracker.
And I not
Um,
only picked Christmas Charade here in just the weekend, in our overall,
you.
I said it was one of the ones I was most looking forward to. Just just a reminder, but no, go ahead.
So I ended up siding with you. I loved Christmas Charade. And we had both mentioned, because I think this is relevant to our mystery podcast, of Jazz Ramsey. I mean, they're the couple who starred in Jazz Ramsey. If you're trying to figure out like, oh, what are those two actors? Um, this is the movie that I wish everything Jazz Ramsey would have been. Like even the background setup, the their parents. I don't want to spoil anything because I know people don't always watch the Christmas movies, in real time here. So it is really good. They had lots of twists and turns, and their backstory, their chemistry, the way they let them actually act and have fun and play together. I think that drew me in way more than the Jazz Ramsey one did.
And,
So
and Jazz Ramsey, like this obviously had a very high comedic element to it. Jazz Ramsey
yeah.
didn't have to have the comedic to it, but
Well, and
it
this
was
was
so
an over the top
restrained.
comedy. It wasn't
Right.
even an over the top. It was just a nice lightheartedness.
But Jazz Ramsey just like said, "Hey, let's take all your personality and throw it in the
Take it
garbage
away.
can."
Well,
Because, like you said, they should just let him be.
so
Because
dry.
I still thought in Jazz Ramsey, the one thing that I did like is I sense that they had chemistry, but everything was so restrained. So yeah,
Yeah.
it was just so much fun. And you mentioned this in your review too about like it was actually kind of like an Hallmark version of an action movie, which we
Yeah.
just haven't even seen. Like I was thinking, oh, we had last year the what was it? Catch Me If You Claus, which,
Oh yeah.
kind of
Yep.
pushed it and that was
Yep.
fun. But this, like going off the building, throwing the rope over, like it was pure action, going, down to replace the thing, which obviously there are so many plot holes, by the way, but it wasn't trying to take itself serious, right? So loved it.
What
Loved
plot
it.
holes? I didn't see any.
Now, where we did differ though is in the 5-year story or Christmas party, whatever. I actually really liked it being the slow burn. And I thought it was a great compliment to all the fun and action that we had on Saturday. And it was just a very nice, tender, slow moving movie, which I enjoyed in that aspect. But I know you
I did
kind
not.
of found it a little snooze fest.
Yeah. I mean, the slow, kind of boring, dragging on ones are always the kiss of death for me. And so that one, I wanted to like it, and eh, just the same premise. Like again, I like a different setting, but we always ended up in the same time frame and every year, and we just didn't have enough going on to really pull me into the movie ever. So for me, that one is going to be second to last. This
I
time each
also
year is my bottom one, and then the 5-year Christmas party is second
I also
to
couldn't figure
last.
out where they were
I think it's
because
supposed to be New York.
but
But then they said LA at some time.
the one friend said, "I'm going to New York, come with
I know,
me."
I got a little confused with that too. I was like, I
And
thought they were in New York. What?
right, and that's where I thought too, but whatever.
Then
I
I was like, did they
enjoyed
go
it,
to
you
LA?
didn't. And
I
then
don't
I
know.
think are we in agreement that the Allison Sweeney one was just a little heavy for where we want to
I
be, or
actually did not even realize that he had a drinking problem. I was trying to figure out what the
what?
issue
He,
was
no, I
between
don't.
them.
They never said that.
That I think is what was inferred,
Right.
right?
I'm just teasing.
And I mean, that's where like it it took away from me because you're kind of like I spent most of the movie being like, okay, I'm just why aren't they getting along? So they could have done better at like just putting the pieces together, I think, because they strung us along and they didn't really tell us like, hey, here's a big blow up fight or here's a big thing that happened. And so I kind of was left like, did something big happen? Or is this just kind of a relationship that's breaking down over time, but they clearly still like each other? So it didn't quite do it for me. And then honestly, my second favorite movie of this year is Nutcracker Christmas. So my number one is Christmas Charade right now, and Nutcracker is my number two.
See, I don't count the summer one, so
Uh,
I just by default it doesn't make it for me.
it re-aired and people
I
didn't see
know it
it. So
re-aired.
it is my number two. And that's
I know.
very shocking. It will probably go down. I don't think it will be my Scottish Christmas movie where it stays up there all
Oh,
year,
I
but I
hope
could be
not.
wrong. That would mean it's a really not a great year if that stays that high. Whew. So here's the
I
breakdown of the poll when I
what
ask people, because this was a really one-sided movie,
Oh, yes,
clearly
it
blew
was.
it out of the park.
I saw your results when I voted.
It was
Oh
quite
my.
high. So 6% voted. So these are, I just asked what everyone's favorite movie was from the weekend. 6% said This Time Each Year. So that was the Allison one. 6% said Nutcracker Christmas. So we had some winners. 69% Christmas Charade. And then 19% The 5 Year Christmas Party. So clearly there was a heavy favorite with the Christmas Charade. So not surprising,
No, it's not
probably.
surprising at all.
No, no.
Like,
So this weekend, what
now
are
here's
our
the here wait,
picks?
before we go there.
Yeah,
Now here's going to be the big one is if whatever the novel, what's it, the novel Christmas or the novel your one that
Novel Noel.
novel Noah. Now if that one ends up being like absolutely fantastic too, then we both are eating a little crow. And I'm turning on it now that I've seen more and more on it. I'm like, oh no, I think I'm gonna like it. But all right, what's this weekend? What do we have this weekend?
All right, up first is our Thursday night premiere of, hold on, my app just went black on me. Okay, there it goes. My Sweet Austrian Holiday, and that is with Will Kemp and Brittany Bristow, which is also a little segue into our movie today because she's in our Good
Yes,
Witch
she
movie that
is.
we reviewed. And this is Charlotte inherits a chocolate shop, but a developer wants to buy the building. Doesn't sound super exciting. Friday, A Carol for Two, and this stars Gina Claire Mason. And so this one I think is that singing one. And then on Saturday, we have Our Holiday Story, which I think a lot of people are looking forward to. Nikki DeLoach and Warren Christie. And then coming up on Sunday, Holiday Mismatch with Caroline Ray and Beth Broderick, which are the Sabrina the Teenage Witch aunts. So for me, this was one of my top 5 picks for the holiday season is Holiday Mismatch with the aunts from Sabrina. But looking at this weekend, A Carol for Two almost made my top 5 list. So that was number 6 for me, most looking forward to. And then Our Holiday Story, I'm also really looking forward to that one. And the Will Kemp one, like I think that looks cute. I mean, has it been
Oh,
done before? A hundred
yeah, we
percent.
literally
But
have
it's
seen it with
still,
Will Kemp though.
I know it, but will I be excited? It looks cute. I mean, it's very predictable, Hallmark. So honestly, last weekend, I wasn't super excited going into it. I'm the complete opposite this weekend. I'm excited for basically all of them. Like I'm looking forward to all 4 of these. But again, Holiday Mismatch is going to be my pick for the weekend. What about you?
Mine is what's the My Christmas Story, the Nikki DeLoach one,
Our Holiday Story.
Our Holiday Story, and it's mostly because Nikki's last several years has been put in the like the super serious movies, and now she's getting, I think, a regular Hallmark movie. So I think this is going to be fun. It's excited to see her be all cute. Warren Christie is in. I don't know if it's the best Christmas movie of all time still,
Brooke
or if
Burns.
it's the second best. With yes, the most wonderful time of the year.
Wait,
Uh,
what would be what's
Round and Round, man.
oh, I was like,
I
what's
love.
battling it out?
I
Okay,
know
for
Round
you.
and Round, which is a Hanukkah movie. So I guess I could have a best Christmas movie and a best Hanukkah movie. There we
There
go.
you go.
But Warren Christie, like really excited for him too. I think it's going to be a great pairing. I will say I'm now that I've actually read and understand a little more, why I don't have the Sabrina teenage witch connection going for there. The movie that that you're all excited for does seem pretty holiday mismatch seems pretty fun. I think
That's
that's going
kind
to
of
be
cute.
I think it's going to be a really cute one as well. So
Wow.
we'll go from there.
Well, now we're going to kind of throw it back. So we're taking it to 2017 into The Good Witch Spellbound. So here is the recap of the movie. The business owners compete for the best decorated shop. A prophecy is unearthed in the basement of City Hall. When predictions start coming true, the citizens fear its terrible curse. Cassie and Sam may be the key to saving their town. Bum, bum, bum. So, what did you think of this one, Eric?
I gave it, I don't know, don't get mad at me, but
Uh-oh.
I only gave it a 5.
Wait, are
The
you for
The Good Witch, I love, love this
wow.
series. Every
Wow.
even though it's campy, even though it's like predictable and everything like that, it all just works. I love all the characters. I I love the series, and I had so much fun watching it. I've seen it a couple times, so I knew exactly what's gonna happen, so there's no surprises, but I love it. And, like, even the thing about getting old, when Cassie, someone's coming in the room or when they're showing up and she's hello before they get there, never gets old for me. I love it every time. I love how Grace now has grown into that ability. Awesome. Had tons of Halloween feels. Halloween, I wish that Hallmark would just blow out October with Halloween and then start uh
November
the
1st.
holiday movies in November, because Halloween is such a good holiday that it deserves it. And so it got all the, the decorations, everything like that, some bats, good just general Halloween feel, costumes and all that, which it also small town charm, that's right up your alley. So, and then just getting into the overall movie, like I thought it was cute how they juxtaposed the old couple with Sam and Cassie, then with the newlyweds. So three sort of different type of couples who kind of are all similar but different. I thought that was a neat way that they wound it. And then I'll I'll end it on Martha is hands down one of the best characters, not only in the Hallmark universe, but in TV. Every time she's on screen, I just absolutely am smiling uncontrollably. Like if someone didn't know what I was doing, they would say, "What's up with this guy? He's just weirdly happy," because she is so stinking funny. Hilarious. Love her, love her. Alright, well, you seem to had a reaction where I'm guessing you did not give it a solid 5 plus like I did.
No, and I was kind of looking up, I wanted to kind of get a background of like when did this stop airing? So if people are kind of listening,
This
they're
was
like,
I think it was
oh,
season 3, so it's pretty early into the series. They had all the
so
movies.
the series aired from 2015 to 2021, but the first movie came out 2008.
Right.
So the first movie was, a lot earlier. Now, this was the third to last movie, because then there was another movie that aired in 2018, and then the last movie that came out with Good Witch was 2019. Which I loved when they did that every Halloween. They would throw
Right.
in a Good Witch movie, which is great. Besides the series, so if you're thinking, should I go back and watch the originals? I think the originals gives you a little bit more backstory on these characters. So if you're kind of,
Yeah.
if you watch this movie and you're like, oh, I kind of want to know more, it does, give you a good foundation of like, here's what happened to her husband. Is it needed though? No. You could honestly jump right in
Right.
that 2015 era and you would be fine, because they don't mention him a ton as the series goes on. Nor is there characters that are even the same. Like I really liked that, besides Martha, but that police guy that was in some of the earlier movies, and then he just kind of disappears. So here are my kind of notes on this. For me, I would give it probably like a 3.75. I was kind of going back and forth.
3.756298
Oh, I'm
1.
sorry. Well, I was like 3.5 or 4. I can't decide, so I went in between. The supporting cast is just fabulous. So I think they do a really good job of creating the townspeople and giving us unique, interesting people. They're exciting. They have points. So sometimes they give us these side characters that they don't tell us anything about their lives. Whereas here they really bring us into like, Stephanie, she's always feuding with Abigail. Abigail comes into the town and she's like, do we like her? Do we not? Is she doing bad things? We don't know. You
See?
got Martha.
See?
She
My
over,
point by the
don't
way
you
back to
worry.
the beginning.
Well, don't worry, we'll circle back there later. Martha overreacts about every little detail, and that's just part of her charm. Cassie, is she, super helpful and elusive? And you're trying to figure out, like, is she in on this? Is she doing these things? And then you have Sam, who's just predictable, control, doctor, just like very, here's how things go, linear thinking. You have Grace and Nick having kind of that kid energy at times. I would say Grace sometimes is more adulting, I think, in this movie, and Nick acts more like a kiddo, which is his character came a long way. So there is some character growth for him because he started out as kind of a
And
bratty,
the whole
mean,
series, right?
intense,
Yeah,
kid,
yeah.
and then he really softened towards the end. And then again, the cotton weather, I think it was called cotton weather prophecy, where, we'll get into that in the mystery minute, but like that's kind of the premise of this episode or this movie. And um how are they, how are the townspeople handling it? And look at this
Mysterious
mystery and
stranger.
intrigue and the stranger that comes into town, which we can talk about in the mystery minute because it's actually quite funny how it's revealed at the end. So again, it's good. It's just a very predictable. If you want something where you're like, hey, I want a standard plot. Here's what I'm going to get. I know what the outcome's going to be. Exactly how I just described all of those characters. They stay true to them, besides Nick, who'd shifted a little bit. The rest of them just stay true to that person. This would be the series. It's just very vanilla. Here's the script. Here's how they act. Here we go.
We did
And that's not a
have
bad thing. Not a bad thing
no,
because I
like I
do
said,
enjoy it.
it's actually what I love about it. I know
Yeah.
exactly, like you say, I know exactly what I'm getting, but I love it. So now I will say Sam did grow because when he first came around, he was, the doctor on Mr. Like
Yeah.
medicine, and what you're doing, Cassie, isn't medicine. And so they had that little bit of tension. And he finally came around to be, hey, we're both helping people in the different ways. And Cassie, you are a witch, so you do things in a very different way.
I mean, he doesn't say that, but yeah.
Right.
Nobody ever tells her that. It's just very much inferred from
Yeah,
the
and
title of
that's
the movie.
the running thing about, just like you said, it's, is she doing, like, you don't really ever know other than her intuition of knowing when people are there.
And
Like,
Abigail has that too.
right. Oh,
And
the
I love
Murdocks. And so is
the
Grace now.
bell, book, and candle. That seems just like a cute dream. And like, so every time I watched it, I was like, I want to like run an inn like this, and I want to have a little shop in town, and just that cozy. Just Cassie really pulls you in, and like once, like for me, when I was in my what 20s, late 20s when I was started watching this show, I'm like, this looks like a great. Like I want to find a place where I could do these things because she gets to know the guest and she's so
Right.
intuitive, and then she has this shop, and like I just went into one of those pretty much a bell book and candle shop today actually. The people didn't necessarily help me. They couldn't even find the crystal I was looking for when I was in there, but besides the point, it's a
Did you
cute
say
little
you're
shop.
no Cassie Adam?
I should have circled it back. I'm like, all right, maybe that's why I was called to go there today. Interesting.
Could be.
So, all in all, to say, like, I feel like that's so many people's dreams is that bell book and candle to run a cute little shop on the corner and be intuitive with all of their customers.
And it's successful because there's always like a ton of people in there.
Yeah. I mean, who wouldn't want to come in and like if I come in and she's like, "Hey, you need this today," or she places something in the right spot and he's like,
It
"She wants this shell?"
It's kind of like your little garage sale mystery shop there, where she's always getting like strange things also delivered. They're like, oh, look, I just got this whatever Himalayan
Salt lamp.
whatever stuff. Yeah, salt lamps thing coming on in and all that. So okay.
Well, what about the mystery then for you?
It's fun. I can't say I really watch these as like the mystery so much. The
Yeah.
best thing about it, and I'm gonna roll right back up, is Martha just getting so wound up with it, and she's just hilarious. I, it's part of the thing that with the Love on the Danubes, I just loved when she was on screen. Now, obviously, she wasn't Martha on there, but it's Catherine Disher. But she was a similar-ishy type. Like, just she had so much charm and everything like that. So it was just fun. I love that Jared, her assistant, is trying to make her happy. So he's the one who's actually creating the prophecy and all that. And the actual prophecy and kind of whatever. And the way they solve it was kind of silly. Like I don't know why you have pieces of paper that you would grab and put on the bottom of your gargoyles, but whatever. So it was fine. Like I said, I think you summed it up top. It's just this collection of characters that make the series so good, and all of them get their time to shine. And so, like, the
Mhm.
mystery, it's there, it's fun. You had some things coming in and out, but I'm just more or less, tuning in and all the different stories, and like you said, seeing the Abigail and Stephanie feud, and that's what I had fun with. What about you?
Well, I mean, as you're saying that, I'm like, this might be one of the few series that, yes, Cassie and Sam might be the focal points, you can argue, but like they don't necessarily have a ton of like screen time. So often, like you have the main person and you see them a ton, whether you want to develop their storyline or not. But this one, they really do break it apart. They might have a little bit more of the meatier stuff, but not by many minutes, because they do a good job of spacing us around.
And there are definitely episodes, if we wanted to go through the whole series, there's definitely episodes where they're really not the
Yeah.
focal. So,
Yeah. Um, the mystery for me, I agree with you, like with the assistant doing most of the things, and then you have Cassie and the intrigue, and then Abigail doing some of the other things. And I thought the mystery to me was like, oh, who is this mysterious man that's in
right,
town?
right, right.
Oh, it's Will Fuller, the travel writer. So you're like, wait, so you're coming into this town and you're like, clearly, they think you're like some big, you're part of this prophecy and you're just playing it up, or you just wait until like a week after you've been there a week to be like, oh, I'm just a travel writer. I'm actually not
Right,
really doing anything. I thought that was really funny. I'm like, wait, this is our payoff. Like we set this all up.
right.
But that's very much a good witch thing. Like that happens, I feel like in most of them. You're thinking it's gonna be something really amazing, and then you're like,
Uh,
oh, it's just the guy down the street.
Now, do you think like the general thing is you think he's a descendant of the
Yes, 100%.
right, and
Yes.
he's coming to cause the big
Yep. Yep, because
Armageddon
he looks
battle?
like, with, like, the picture when, Jared has Martha be like, "Look, look," and,
Right.
she's like, "Oh my."
Yeah,
So, I think
yeah,
that's part of the charm, I think, of the series. So you either love that or it's too campy and, it's not for you.
right.
Now, I do have some takes on this romance roundup. So, my takes, not necessarily on Sam and Cassie. Their romantic vibes are very much a slow burn. It's not like a lovey-dovey, hot and heavy. It's just like, hey, we've known each other for a really long time, whether it be, this life or another. Like if you're hinting at past life, because it just Cassie would be
Well,
that aura.
Cassie, right.
Now, when I look at the other relationship that I was like, I'm struggling with this one, the Brittany Bristow and her new husband relationship. I'm like, are you actually kidding me? So this woman pretends she likes everything that this man likes and doesn't tell him. They are now married and she still hasn't told him her basic interests and likes.
I won't have a hamburger. I won't have a hamburger.
Like that is not that is not good. Like, so for me, like that kind of drove me nuts of like, wait, are we really doing that? We're like having the women be so like just subservient to the husband in this regard and be like, nope, I'm going to put me back here. I'm going to pretend like I like you. And then he's like, well, I like you. And she's like, well, that's not really me. Just that's a tough pill to swallow. In 2017, I'm like, that's an interesting choice of a storyline.
Yeah, Hallmark 2017, though, it's you have that in some of just movies. In fact, we'll totally digress here. I don't remember who the woman is, but there's a Sam Page one where he's like the gift buyer, and he's hired to do the shopping for like the one guy hires him to shop for the girl, and he ends up like falling in love with the girl. That is such a troubled red flag relationship, but it is, when you're watching, you're like, "Oh, this is kinda cute."
The
And then
perfect
you
Christmas
and
present, also 2017.
there we go, see? And then you step back and you look at it, and so there's a lot of if especially, like I say, the older ones, you look at some of the relationships and there are some problematic, definite things in them if you go there, and I agree with you. The funny thing is,
So that doesn't age well,
did
I
you
will say
did you
that.
know did you know that was, like, right away, did you recognize Britney as Britney?
I did not.
I
I
r
thought so, and then I went on to the IMDb just to,
Right.
like, see who was in the movie, and I was like, "Okay, I thought it looked like her,
Don't
but a
believe
younger
everything you
version."
see there.
I
It
know.
it could have
That's
been,
my
uh
that's my trivia, though. My trivia is from
it
IMDb.
could have been Fiona Goldberson or whatever, I forget
Okay,
what her
well,
name is,
no, that was
or
just me
Becca
me
Tobin. Maybe it was
completely
Becca Tobin.
thinking. That was me completely thinking it was her, and it was not. It
Yeah,
wasn't me looking
another
and
blonde. You
researching.
could be confused.
Jeez,
I
so
know
true.
how they all look alike to you. But I was looking at her going, wait, I know who this is. I know who this is. And then I went and looked up and I was like, oh yeah, totally. That's who it is. All right. What I'll say though, you say it's a slow burn and whatever. I think Cassie and Sam just have some of the best chemistry in Hallmark. But like you say, it's not this like crazy hot passion. They just you believe that they're a couple. I d-
Mm,
like I would not be shocked if you looked at the IMDb and it was like, oh, they've been married for 30 years because they just
yeah.
blend so effortlessly together. And they're cute and this, that, and the other, but yeah, it's not obviously like, oh, the romance kind of thing, but I just love them together. So the question is, because we were talking about the movies, and obviously when the series came around and time went on, it wasn't such a big deal. But at the beginning, there was the big battle like, oh, are you team Jake, her original husband, or
Mm.
Sam? Like, I never actually particularly liked Jake all that much, so I was not sad when he died.
It felt like a different series too. If you go back and
Oh,
watch those first few movies, it's a little bit darker. So it had a different vibe to it than present day Good Witch.
but
Um,
do you remember, did you like him kind of thing, or were you just, yeah,
no,
he's
I mean,
dead,
because
moving on?
yeah, I mean they didn't introduce us to a ton. And again, it was filmed a little darker. I like the more happy, brighter films, and James Denton, I enjoy. So I preferred him.
He's a cool guy.
Yeah. Now, okay, so this is why I couldn't get behind for character corner. My character I picked, this is why I couldn't answer you, was Abigail. So I'm like, no,
You
do
could
not
have
like
answered.
Abigail.
So for everyone knowing is
Oh
I
gosh.
texted Andrea. I'm like, tell me who it is. I was thinking about doing Abigail. I love Abigail. I love her. I love that character. I love her as an actress. I
I
loved her
love how
in the
that's who you
Danube.
described
Like,
yourself as. I love love
well,
it. Love me.
no, it's because she's obviously like the one who's
Oh
always
gosh.
mischievous and up to like, oh, is she good? Is she not
No
good?
good.
Whatever. And
That's
your
you.
Cassie is, like
The
you with
intuitive
all your
witchy.
stuff. Right.
Going in and
Right.
picking
That's where I was
crystals.
going. I wasn't going with how wonderful I'm. But so back
That's
to so
funny.
I texted and I was like, Andrew, tell me I don't want to choose the same person. She's like, you won't. And so when we right before we hit record, I'm like, I know who you chose. I totally know you chose George because you always choose the old guy. And she's like, nope, you got it wrong yet again. So I'm like, oh, for however long the podcast we're on. Oh, by the way, it's our 61st episode, I believe.
Ooh.
And I'm 0 for 61 with ever making my guesses.
No, I mean, Abigail, I love Sarah Powers. I think she is just a treasure and a delight. I love seeing her in any of the, Hallmark movies as a lead. I think that she has just a sharpness about her in the movies, and like just kind of this intense, but yet she's softened as it goes on. So like her character arch, you can see that she comes in very intense and
Oh
very
yeah.
much like, do you like her? Do you not? But then again, Cassie is just so even keel. I think that you need those characters around her to bring in some, I guess, more vibration maybe to the movie. Otherwise, Cassie can probably get lost in the dark, and she might be too bland for me if it was just her without some of those, Marthas thrown in. So for me, she brings that, and it's kind of it leaves with excitement. I mean, I couldn't remember when her like guy or her love interest comes in. It's obviously not this movie, but in another one that kind of plays a factor. And I like how they evolve that relationship as well. So for me, she's someone who I always like to see on screen, and I enjoy all of Abigail and what Sarah Powers brings to her.
And her snark is just
Yes,
awesome. She's like in this one when she's, yeah, just
great fashion.
giving the dead flowers, which I think she used her witch power to kill the flowers, but I don't know.
Oh yeah.
So, but yeah.
Well, who'd you pick? You picked the opposite.
Well, I went the battle there. I picked Stephanie. So who is the bistro owner? She, if we're going to go through the whole series, she's always looking for love. She'll have a guy, and then the guy turns out to be bad or whatever. Something goes on, so we got to move on. Then Stephanie gets another one. Kind of Cassie's, BFF, lover. But the reason why I chose her It's played by Kylie, I think, Kaylee Evans, but she is going to be in the upcoming Mistletoe Murders. So we're going to get to
Oh,
see her because we haven't seen her. I was looking
yay.
through her
No.
IMDb, and I don't think she's really been in any other Hallmark movies other than the
Good
Good
witch.
Witch series.
That's exciting.
So yeah, so I'm excited we get to see her again because she's a fun character, and is I mean we're probably redundant here, but just saying the beauty of the show is just this ensemble cast with such good characters, and she's definitely one of them. So
Yeah.
love her, and now we get to see her a
Nice.
little more, and it'll be interesting to see her in a different character, or does she
That's what I was
kind of
gonna say.
bring? Is
Yeah.
she going to bring some of
But
that same quirkiness with her?
ooh, that's exciting. Well, for trivia, here's my
I
trivia.
bet we have different trivia.
It's from mine is from IMDb. Um, the cabinet that Nick, and Nick is Sam's son, and again, he's like a high school kid. He locked himself into in his dad's doctor's office, which we didn't talk as a very small point. He was trying to scare his dad throughout the movie, and then he finally, which I thought was kind of a corny plot line. In the end, he scares his dad by disappearing, and his dad couldn't find him, and that's he's like, "Oh, gotcha, I scared you." I thought that was just. I feel like they were trying to give him
He
something to do.
accidentally locked himself in the
Yes,
cabinet, so he couldn't get out,
correct.
and his dad was freaking out. It wasn't like,
I know, but it's still kind of like, anyway, the cabinet that Nick is locked into requires a key to lock or unlock it. And it can only be locked or unlocked from the outside. And since it was unlocked when he got into it, it would have to be remained unlocked when he was inside of it. So the
maybe.
worst case scenarios, the doors were shown to be flimsy, so they could have easily pushed them open. So the entire subplot of Nick turning up missing would not have taken place. That's from
Maybe
IMDb.
Nick's just not so bright and couldn't figure it out to push the door.
I mean, it's like a little filing cabinet, so
Right.
yes. So that was my trivia. What do you got?
Mine's a little spicier. Mine is Catherine Bell got her big break by being the naked body double for Isabella Rossellini
Whoa.
in Death Becomes Her.
Wow.
Yeah.
I've never seen Death Becomes Her, I
Oh,
don't
that's
think,
a
but
great
I don't even
movie.
know what that is.
It's got Bruce Willis, Goldie Hawn, and Meryl
Oh,
Streep, and they're like
and that
doing
when the
the
head turns around and
yeah,
the
yeah,
old,
and they tried
yeah,
it.
they
They
don't want
do
to
the
age.
thing, right, right,
I have seen that. I just watched that when
and
my little guy was it was at 3 a.m. I was watching this when my little one wouldn't sleep like a year ago, and that was my first time watching it, and I thought it was kind of cute.
well, if you're watching regular TV, you probably did not see a naked body double, but
I did not.
Isabella Rossellini, she's the sort of the witch one who's got the potion.
Interesting.
So
Wow. Well, that is a
uh,
fun fact.
the
Well,
other
what do you
fun,
have?
the other fun fact
Oh,
is I
yeah.
had a
Oh, you
total
got
crush
2.
on
Oh,
Catherine
this
Bell
is
back in Jag years. So
I didn't know she was on Jag either.
she's like the main. She's Mac. She's like
I didn't know Jag. I
character
didn't.
two.
I'm a little too young for Jag. My parents watched that, but
Hey now, hey now, ouch! Especially coming. Wait, coming from diagnosis murder, murder she wrote. So I don't want to ever hear a little too old.
that's true. That's true. I guess I never that wasn't in my
Uh,
repertoire. Sorry.
it's actually a little too young for you.
Oh, well, what do you have for Hallmark and Chill then?
I'm leaving the whole Hallmark world, and I'm going into the movies with Witches of Eastwick and Practical Magic, where we get
I love
these.
practical magic.
Well,
Oh,
that's actually a pretty good one because it's like magic for love and all that. You got the sister. Um,
that's what I watch when I pass out my candy for Halloween. So that's what I'll be
oh,
doing is having that
you'll
in the
be
background.
there. You go, Hallmark. You can Hallmark and show it, and then Witches of Eastwick, which has who is it? It's
I haven't seen that.
Cher, um, uh, Michelle Pfeiffer, and Susan Sarandon are
Ooh,
witches who get together, and Jack Nichols.
I have to
Uh,
watch this.
Nicholson is like the the devil, I think is what it was, if I'm not mistaken, but he's or whatever. And so it's another group of witches. What do you call a
Coven.
coven? Yeah, I was thinking like craft, but that one's a little too. whatever. That's a teenager movie. Whereas these both are like adult witch sisters and sort of thing. So I don't know. What about you?
Well, I have 3. So this is like right up my alley. Charmed.
Diagnosis murder, a murder she
Charmed.
wrote. All
Nope, this
right.
is also leaving Hallmark. Is that I love that series. The original Charmed. I haven't really seen the new Charmed. And again, 3 sisters, and they get together and discover they're witches. And then this one I've mentioned a few times on the podcast, and I will say it again because actually we've had some listeners watch this series because of my recommendation. Abigail All Along on Disney Plus that is currently airing right now. The last episode was freaking amazing. Glenda the Good Witch from Wizard of Oz. She is I can't remember her name. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I'm sure people are like,
Becca
because she's
Tobin.
this big actress. Obviously for many, many years. I think she was a little bit on Broadway too, but she had a great episode this last episode. So highly recommend checking that out. That one will be a little bit more spooky. So if I wouldn't recommend that for kids. Like I won't really watch that with my son around because the witches that appear, they are a little bit darker and my son would be terrified if he saw that. So and again, if they're not in there long, it's not like I'm not really into spooky, so it's about as spooky as I can get. And then, of course, I have a Murder She Wrote recommendation because, again, Murder She Wrote's done everything. Season 8, Episode 12, The Witch's Curse. And I do enjoy this episode. Cabot Cove suspects a woman playing a witch in a community play is the real thing. So the
Ooh.
community people think, hey, is this person actually a witch? But is she? Or no, she just has kind of the same thing as Cassie. So I would recommend that one for Murder She Wrote.
Wait, are you trying to say Cassie is not a witch?
Or is she?
She totally
See the
is.
circle we can go around.
She
I
totally
mean,
is.
that's like it's kind of the same. Like, is she? Isn't she? I don't know. Now fan corner in terms of this one, I didn't ask about. I didn't have a chance to ask about this movie, but on the IMDb, it's got a 7.3% rating, which I feel like is pretty decent for a Hallmark movie, especially one that's been around for this many years.
Well, we got another fan mail on the podcast,
Ooh.
and it says, I enjoyed your episode of Ranking the Mysteries. Hannah Swenson has run its course, I think. I only still watch because I love Victor Webster, and I love Victor Webster too. Um, and there's new episodes. I didn't care for Curious Kate or Foiled Plans, but the other mysteries I enjoyed, though Nellie was a little much. Looking forward to mysteries in 2025. Smiley
Oh,
face.
thank you. I
So
love it.
everyone, if you go to the podcast, and you'll see, and then top, I think it's the top of the notes, place where you can leave a message if you want there, or of course you can
Oh,
always
so awesome.
leave us DMs. We get a lot of DMs in on Instagram.
Eric checks all the DMs. I don't. So
I
if you want
forward
to
I
say
forward you the
anything
ones.
bad about
Hey,
me,
hey,
tell Eric.
we had with all of our Aurora love, they gave us some love back where uh we had why am I going brain dead on Arthur.
Evan Roddick.
Yeah, Evan Roderick. He even like sent a little note saying thank you very much, and now is following us. Skylar is following us. All that. Maybe somebody else. What's coming up?
Well, first of all, I didn't ask what you're doing on Halloween. So what are you doing on Halloween tonight?
Well, since my kids are grown and all that, I will be sitting on the porch handing out candy, drinking beer, and
Watching
then
Mistletoe Murder?
no. Well, so my wife and I have a tradition where we always like I don't. I'm like you. I don't like scary movies, and so she does. And on Halloween, we always watch some Halloweenish movie, and it's got to be tempered. So it's not like, oh, hey, we're gonna watch Saw 4 because I won't do it. So she finds something in the tolerable, like PG-13 range for me, and then we
I
watch a
love
Halloween
this.
movie.
Oh, that's fun.
So I don't know what it is. She won't tell me what it is. I'll tell it when we reconvene. I'll tell you what it was that we ended up watching.
Ooh,
But
yes.
sometimes, like, I'll pick it out and uh, it'll be, whatever. Like, have you ever seen Warm Bodies with
No,
the zombies,
no.
teenage zombies who turn good because they have a heart? Like, that's my
Oh,
speed.
like Disney
It's a rom com. Well, it's
Halloween.
a rom com
Oh,
zombie
okay.
movie. You should see it. It's really
Oh,
cute.
okay. I'll add that to my list. Well, next week we have Mistletoe Murder since it's airing next week. We'll break that down and we'll decide. We
Well, it
were
airs
talking
tonight.
before.
What are you talking about? Next week?
Oh
It
yeah,
airs
sorry.
tonight.
Airs tonight. And we'll decide if we are going to like keep doing one full episode devoted to one full Mistletoe Murder, or maybe we just do a segment of it like we did for The Way Home. So we'll kind of see how it goes and see how much there is to talk about and break down. And then we also have potentially, hopefully, as long as the interview occurs, tomorrow with a amazing guest that I'm hoping I can break away from my work and pop into this interview for. So
I think it's going to go because they're trying to accommodate you. And if it happens, this will probably be the
out.
one that people like the most since Brennan Elliott, I will say.
Ooh, wow.
Yeah, yeah. That's going way back where I think there will definitely be some excitement for this one. And we've just heard this person is awesome too to talk to. And then just the little emails has been a ton of fun. So very excited.
We'll update you on my Timberwolves. It looks like we're going to lose the game, and one of our players who left, Julius, looks like he's okay, and Anthony Edwards, our main star, we might be into some issues. He looks like he's a little banged up. So that's my Timberwolves update. Thank you for all who care.
So for the next foreseeable future, Andrea will not be on the podcast because she will be too busy
Watching
on
Timberwolves
on
and
on
keeping up with all the Hallmark movies.
on
Oh,
ant duty.
I know. A little concerned. All
Well,
right,
Andrea,
that concludes our basketball talk.
happy Halloween.
Bye.